All right, and we're back here on BCB Live, the safest station in the nation. Kaylee, what's going on? It's been, what, a month since I saw you over at WIT. How you doing?
Doing pretty good, Dave. Thank you guys for having me on. I super appreciate it. Yeah, I got to meet you guys in person and Bryce and her fabulous outfits at the Women in Trucking conference back in Dallas in November. And it was awesome. It seems like the year has really wrapped up pretty quickly since that conference. And now here we are, what, 2 days left in the year, and I'm happy to be ending it on PCB Live.
Well, I do appreciate it. You are currently, you're out there in Tennessee, right? Right now?
Yep, Chattanooga, Tennessee, the heart of Freight Alley, as we like to call it.
Yeah. Did you, yeah, what's the, we've had kind of a weird little pre-winter type thing going on for being just winter a few days. I mean, we've only been what, a winter a week, and it's
Yeah.
been a it's been a little crazy in and of itself. I mean, and it doesn't seem like we're done. I mean, we're just getting started this winter.
Yeah, talk to people at Southwest Airlines and they'll really let you know how the early winter has been
I
faring for them.
don't. Yeah. If you can get them on the phone,
You can get them on the phone, exactly.
boy, they've taken a hit, haven't they?
No, I would. People like to say that like in transportation, right? Like dispatchers have a really tough job, but like the frontline workers at an airline during a mass winter storm and an aftermath that took them completely offline, they have the hardest job in transportation because like airlines are transportation technically, you know.
They are every they're still moving. They're still moving something from point A to point B, and it's just crazy exactly how that gets done. I will tell you, you're a meteor. I mean, are you a weather person or are you a meteorologist? I just want to know.
No, I am truly a meteorologist. I have a degree from the best meteorology school in the nation,
Texas
University of
A&M.
Oklahoma.
Oh,
And you know what? If anybody is a Penn State fan, I will go to my grave saying that OU is number one.
well, I think that's great. I would.
I
I,
already disagree.
did you already? Oh, did you already? No, I think it's great. I'm glad you went there. I'm glad that you got went to a great school. Did you So, and I'm gonna, and I know this is what you really want to talk about, but what's gone on in Buffalo, up there on the Northeast, and what transpired? What's going on out west? And the snowpack is unbelievable, bigger than it's been in years, which they need, right, to get Lake Mead filled back up. But you know, this volatility going on, it's going to stay here for a while. Don't you agree that this up and down that we're going to have, hot, hot, hots, cold, cold, colds, and everything in between, hurricanes, tornadoes, bad storms, that isn't going away anytime soon. You right?
No, 1000%. That more extreme weather on one side here or there is definitely here to stay. And as we continue to move forward, we're definitely going to see those periods of increased drought, increased heat, increased time without rain in the summer and those traditionally warm months. And then as we transition to the cold, we'll start to see those more extreme cold events, those extreme snow events, that kind of really anomalous weather that we haven't seen in a very long time as we get more unstable either side of things.
What? Let me ask you a question. I know you have a lot of fun. You're a reporter and a meteorologist, and I think one yeah, as a meteorologist you report the weather, but it's a whole lot different than reporting to a person or communicating
Mhm.
directly. Which do you get a bigger kick out of? Honestly, I know you went to school to be a meteorologist, and you get to report that. Which do you like both for what they have? Do you? But if you had to pick one over the other, where do you think you'd be? Is that a fair
It's
question?
definitely, oh, it's definitely changed since I came to FreightWaves. Because I started my career like traditionally in broadcasting, right? I worked for a local news company here in Chattanooga. I was their weekend meteorologist and then a general assignment news reporter during the week. So like I would literally get an assignment, leave the station, go knock on doors, go find random people to like talk about topics that they might or might not be experts about, they might or might not have a vested interest in. So back in like my starting days, I was definitely more interested and more passionate about reporting the weather, even though out of like an 8 hour workday, I would spend 4 minutes total reporting the weather, right? I'd work for 8 hours only to talk about it for 4 minutes.
Sure, you did.
So
We know what y'all do over there.
little skewed in effort versus payment. Yeah, and in more ways than one. But now that I'm at FreightWaves, it's definitely shifted to I enjoy the reporting side of things a lot more. So my formal title is senior meteorologist. Like that is my namesake title here at FreightWaves. But I spend most of my time getting people to sit down for 3 different shows. FreightWaves Now, which is our morning show, very similar to what you guys do at BCB Live, formal interviews, weather, traffic, all of the above. I host a show at your doorstep, which is my personal show that's a complement to our modern shipper brand at FreightWaves. And then myself and Grace Sharkey started Great Quarter Gals this year, which we'll talk about a little bit later, I'm sure. But the thing about working at FreightWaves and working in we're B2B media, right? We are business to business media for everybody who is in this career space of transportation and logistics. And people who are out of it find value in it too. But the difference is that everybody I talk to is passionate and is bought into the topics that they're talking about. And I thrive, I live for talking to people about what gets them excited, about what they're passionate about.
Let
So
me
like
ask
I
you.
can find a new founder in the space who is just starting his company, who's seeking VC funding, who is like brand new. He's excited about that. I can find a broker who's been brokering for 35 years and has made a career. He's excited about that and he loves that. And it doesn't matter which side of the spectrum I am or who I talk to, they're excited and they're happy to be there. And that just like really, that fills my cup.
So, what differentiates your time? I mean, I know what you do at FreightWaves. I know you sit down, you have meetings and all that. Is that what you're talking about at your doorstep? Is that what you're discussing? That your personal space in there that you find? What is that? How does that differentiate between the other things that you're doing? I just want to ask about it.
Yeah, so at your doorstep, it's a show like we put on the rest of our FreightWaves programming, and that's a show that was born out of the FreightWaves subset Modern Shipper, and Modern Shipper is really focused on last mile delivery, e-commerce, gig economy, and robotics and automation work. So that is the show that focuses on that specifically for FreightWaves. So I talk to a lot of e-com companies. I talk to a lot of like cloud-based warehouse management solutions, a lot of robotics companies, some drone companies. Basically, if the topic falls into the space of gig work or automation or last mile delivery, parcel delivery, stuff like that, it falls into that show specifically. For example, one of my favorite episodes I've ever done was in 2021, and I talked to someone about the power of social media and influencers when it comes to changing small parcel delivery and how this kind of influencer marketing and the takeover really of influencers as a main like company outlet source of marketing has changed small parcel delivery. That's fascinating.
Well, I'll tell you, it's changed over the years dramatically. Just all of it, in now when you have like LTL or small parcel delivery, and one truckload's late, you got you got 500 people all know you're late on their smartphone
Mm-hmm.
immediately, and guess what? You're getting 500 phone calls, right? So,
Exactly.
so it's. I mean, and it can be, and it needs to be that up to date, minute by minute information goes out, and I think that's how the influencer is so much more important because they are up to the minute, right? I mean, they
Yep.
are dealing with the moment. They are dealing in the time and in the space that we're living in, right? And I think that's where it's not 3 day old, week old news. You're listening to stuff that they're talking about right now that you're jacking with and messing with and getting.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's cool and fun. All right, so yes, we're going to talk about Great Quarter Gals because I think it's important. I, you know, first of all, tell us what it is, why it was
Mhm.
established, and your partner, and just kind of go into a little bit about it.
Yeah, so Great Quarter Gals is another one of our unique shows at FreightWaves. It's very niche specific, right? That's where a lot of our content goes from broad, like FreightWaves Now, we cover every topic, to very niche specific, and Great Quarter Gals is one of those. It's actually a play on a show that we used to have called Great Quarter Guys. And that show was focused on quarterly results. It was very finance bro forward. We had two of our former FreightWaves employees who were running that show, who both left the company to pursue different avenues at the end of last year, both moving into the VC space and into the finance world. Shocker, right? They hosted a finance show. They took finance jobs. And so when Great Corner Guys died at the end of last year, I kind of had this thought where I was like, I want to reclaim that and turn it into a show that focuses on highlighting incredible women in the freight space. And that's exactly what we've done. So we started the show, I believe it was the second or the third week of January last year. Weekly show comes on Tuesday afternoons. And it's myself and Grace Sharkey, who is one of our staff writers there at FreightWaves. She's incredible. She writes about so many different things in the freight space, everything from new freight tech to M&A activity. She writes a weekly newsletter called The Logbook, which focuses more on human interest stories and really feel-good people stories coming out of the freight industry. And then she's also one of our communities writers, writing a communities newsletter and hosting a podcast called Point of Sale, which focuses on the retail side of things. But we launched Great Quarter Gals really with the intention of giving a dedicated platform for people, it doesn't matter if they're women or not, to come in and talk about the difficulties, but also the successes of becoming a woman in transportation and logistics. And in a field that has been traditionally male dominated, where incredible people every single day are working to break down those barriers, people talk about it, but we don't see it a lot, right? Especially on like shows like FreightWaves now. As the producer, I know that our guests and our interviewees are skewed more towards men. And so now we have this platform where we are intentionally providing a space for women to come on. Of course, men are welcome too, but we are intentionally opening that spot up specifically to women to come on, talk about themselves, highlight their accomplishments, let other people know who are watching and listening that the industry is ripe for mentorship opportunities, and it is ripe for success no matter who you are, where you come from, or what you want to do. That option is there and the opportunity is there.
Yeah, I think this has become an even bigger thing than just what y'all are doing. I think this is obviously we have our own ladies who launch on Wednesdays. We do the same thing. We focus on women during that day in the freight space or any topic that has to do with safety or something of that nature to try to highlight that. But I honestly believe after I went to the Women in Trucking conference, I've come to believe that it's after listening to the director of the FMCSA and understanding how I really don't think this is any longer a male-dominated industry. I truly believe this is our industry, that we're all responsible. Now, I don't want to take away from the opportunity to highlight women, what they're doing, so that we can get better, smarter, and more talented people in the industry, because that's how you're going to recruit them. And I want that to still be there. I want that focus to still be there. How are we as a group going to continue to get a stronger foothold to the women out here that may still believe that this is a male-dominated industry?
We talk about that question literally almost with every single guest, right? Is that how are you developing that next generation? How are you reaching out and shaking your hands and pulling down the ladder to pull more people up with you, no matter who they are, if they're women, if they're men, if they're people of color, if they're disenfranchised, if they've historically been in the industry, if they don't even know what truck transportation is, right? You are still reaching down that ladder to develop the next generation of people to be in the industry and push it forward. Transportation is a majority part of the US economy, of the global economy. And nobody truly realizes that. If you're out of the industry, nobody really realizes that until you have issues with supply chain that affect us all. I think that everybody talks about, the pandemic really thrusting transportation and logistics into the spotlight, but that's definitely really true. And I think all of us, me, you, folks who host shows like BCB Live, who have platforms like FreightWaves, who are vocal and outspoken, it is our responsibility to provide a place for people to come on and use our platform to talk about their goals, right? Because at the end of the day, it all falls on us to be that handshake and that level up for the next generation. but we can't do that if nobody knows that we're giving them that opportunity. So I definitely think places like BCB Live and shows like Great Quarter Gals give people who want to speak a platform to do it from. And it's honestly half of my job to ask a question and then get out of the way and let them talk and let everybody else hear, you know?
Yeah, and that's what I was. That's the beauty of this show on here now is I'm asking the question and I'm getting out of your way to hear about your goals and where you want to take Great Quarter Gals and where you want this to lead to. And there's your question. Where is it that you would like to see it go to as we move forward?
So Grace and I have had some, we call them our bucket list guests, right? The people who we have wanted to have on the show to hear them speak, either because we find them really influential, or they lead major companies, or they've done big things in the industry. And this year we got two of our three guests, our bucket list guests, checked off. We had Shelly Simpson checked off with us in May. She came live on our show when we were in Rogers, Arkansas for the Future of Supply Chain event. That was like life altering because Shelly is someone who is an absolute force to be reckoned with. And now as president of JB Hunt, she just like I just look up to her. I can't even talk about her without like getting excited and giddy about that interview, even though it happened 9 months ago. And then we had Robin Hutchison, the director of the FMCSA, or administrator of the FMCSA, I should say. And she came on the show being the first confirmed administrator in nearly 2 years. And just to hear her talk about her role and her relations with government, that was absolutely huge and really inspiring to see that different perspective. Our third bucket list guest that we have yet to make even a smidge of contact with is Carol Tomei, who, of course, heads UPS. So every time I'm on air and we mention her, I'm always like, Carol, if you're watching this, hit us up. We want to talk to you.
Hashtag, you've been mentioned.
Hashtag get Carol Tomei on GQG. But I think our goal for this next year, and I don't want to speak for Grace, but speaking for myself, I definitely want to grow our audience and to really provide a space for everyone to feel like they are welcome to come and talk on our platform, regardless of if they are a woman who has been in logistics and found major success like Shelly Simpson, or someone who is just starting out in their career and doesn't know where to go, right? Because that's oftentimes like the big dichotomy is you get a lot of women who are stuck in this entry level, or you have this like unattainable group who is at their highest level, their peak of their career. And it's very hard to find that transition period in between. So I really want everybody to know that we're open to everybody and we want to feature everybody and everybody's stories. Yeah, I would say that's the big goals is growing our audience and letting people know that we're here to serve them. So come on, come talk to us.
Did you what was the biggest takeaway you got from last year throughout the entire year? And I know that you were excited to have one of your heroes on there, or a couple of them on there, but as you went through the year and you got it, what were some of the greatest takeaways you got through your interviews this year that kind of changed your perspective on how you're going to go into next year?
I think one of my biggest takeaways is that a lot of leadership, even like upper level and C-suite level leadership, is still kind of struggling to adjust to the ideas of the changing workforce. And I don't want that to sound critical of any of those amazing people that we talk to, right? But like the reality of it is that the newest generation entering the workforce is totally different than folks who have been in the workforce at all through their middle careers, right? We live in a totally different time now post-pandemic than we did pre-pandemic. And it is very difficult for companies who are maybe entrenched in the traditional classic ideas of working to make that adjustment to accommodate new workers. And I think, I mean, like, I sit right on the cusp of millennial and Gen Z, right? I turned 26 on Tuesday. We talked about that. And I've been working in now corporate America since I was 21. So 5 years of work in corporate America. And it has really, this last year has really changed me and challenged me to see that traditional work isn't what people think it was. And we definitely need to adjust our expectations. And it is totally possible to adjust our ways of working to accommodate the new generation. And without that accommodation, we're going to lose out on a lot of talent. But at the same time, it's really slow for companies who have histories of working a certain way or who have this traditional work expectation to make those changes. So I think on both sides there needs to be given grace, right? The younger generation needs to allow some time for changes to really trickle down, but at the same time, those upper level traditional jobs need to start thinking in a different way, or else they're going to miss out on who knows what type of talent.
Well, I think it is important that, you know, that whole process that you're talking about, it changes hard. And it always has been. It's going to be hard, but it is always necessary. I mean, it's the only constant I truly think exists is change. So it makes it. It's not exactly as easy as you talk about. Let me before you get out of here, I wanted to ask you. You know, you guys over at Great Quarter Cows actually did something on Spotify. You want to tell me what it is? Something that you achieved?
Yeah, so our Spotify Wrapped this year came up pretty big. We finished the year with 32 episodes, nearly 900 minutes of listening. We were listened in 9 countries, and our followers were up 40% year over year, which, I mean, it started from zero, so like 40%, that's still pretty good, right? So we had a pretty big year on Spotify for our Spotify Wrapped. And just like all of our FreightWaves content, we're available on every single podcast player. So Spotify, Apple Music, we stream to YouTube, we're on tv.freightwaves.com. Like we are on a million different platforms. So Spotify is just one little nugget of our viewership and our listenership. But to see that we're in 9 countries, to see that we were almost 900 minutes of content with a podcast that is less than a year old, that was like kind of this like aha moment of like, oh, people hear us and they want to keep hearing us. And that's enough to keep us going, you know?
Well, I'll tell you what, I'm going to keep listening. And I hope that anybody out there that as we sit here and talk to Kaylee gets to listen to the many different avenues and openings and opportunities for her out there at FreightWaves, Great Quarter Gals, and what was the doorstep? Wait a minute.
At your doorstep.
At your doorstep. At your doorstep. I couldn't remember. At your doorstep. Make sure you're going to get out there and listen to Kaylee. I appreciate you coming on, talking to us a little bit about what's going on over there. Do me a favor before you get out of here, though. Will you at least state your name, who you're with, and that you're watching BCB Live, the safest station in the nation?
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Dave, for having me on. I'm Kaylee Nick, Senior Meteorologist with FreightWaves. You are watching BCB Live, the safest station in the nation.
Thanks, Kaylee, man. Love you. And guess what? Happy New Year.
Happy New Year, Dave.
Happy birthday,
so oh, thank you.
Bye now.